prepared for marriage are two completely different things. And I need y'all to understand that, because I always get these messages. Actually, I just got one. I'm about to go to the gym, get my day started, all that stuff. Check my emails real quick. And I wanted to speak on this. The young lady asked me, like, how can she know truly that the man that she wants to deal with is marriage minded out the gate? Because she feels like she's marriage minded and therefore, she's ready to rock and roll. How to know he's marriage minded? And what I got on my mind, and I'm gonna tell y'all the same way I told her, a marriage minded man is actually not the best. Because for a man, we can have the marriage mind, and I know this from both personal and professional experience, and still not be able to show up in that marriage the way that we need to. Still not be able to show up in a way that keeps you safe, that honors you, that protects you, that emotionally fulfills you, meets your needs. A marriage mind is essentially the intention and the competence around what's supposed to take place in the marriage. Unfortunately, but fortunately at the same time, it's not about what we know, it's about what we prepared to do. You don't care nothing about a man that knows the right things to do, but then when it comes to you receiving that, there's this huge gap, there's this huge disparity. In fact, that's going to create more frustration. Put I down in the chat if you've ever dealt with a guy and you can tell he knew, he had good sense. He'd seen a healthy marriage growing up, or he could articulate himself, but when it came to you receiving all of those things, there was a disconnect. Put I down in the chat if you ever dealt with a guy like that. And you got with him because you knew this man knows what's supposed to happen. This man knows how to show up as a good relationship partner. This man knows how to be a good man. This man knows. But then when it came to him doing for you, you were like, something ain't right. And it wasn't just that he just had this all malicious intent. The thing was, there's a difference between them. I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you. So when a man is truly prepared for marriage, not just marriage minded, there's 5 things really you can look at and you can see some evidence that that man is truly prepared for marriage. The first one is he has no sexual rotation. I know that goes against all conventional wisdom. A man who's single can do this, that, and the other. And I talked about this in one of my programs in assessing a man's character credit score, but I'll just give you guys a quick one. When a man has a sexual rotation, doesn't make him a bad guy. Doesn't make him a bad guy. But you have to prepare your body, your flesh, your relationship with your flesh in order to go into a situation and execute effectively. So what is a marriage supposed to be? Monogamous, right? Faithful, all those things. If that man has been training himself for variety, for something new all the time, just he call up the phone and something just come over that lets you know his body is trained for that sport, for sprints. Y'all are trying to run a marathon. So when you come across a guy, especially if he's, desirable, if, by conventional standards, if he's handsome and got money, etc., but he's doing his thing in the streets, he got a different girl, he got 4 or 5 women on his line, he probably smashing all of them, proceed with caution. If you proceed at all. And again, I go into depth with this. There are exceptions and all that stuff, but essentially, first thing you can tell, that man ain't prepared. And this is the first one that should be able to knock this person. Like, this is the first cut right here. If you were building a team or whatever, this is the first cut. You hiring somebody into the most important position in your life, just go ahead and throw this resume out. He got 4 or 5, 2 to 3 girls, and he can smash a different girl. He might be going to go get a different one this week. I don't care how great he is. I don't care what his personality is. He's not prepared for what exactly you're wanting if what you want is marriage. The second way you know that man is prepared is if he is healed and or healing. So you do not have to come into a situation 100% healed in order to be in a healthy relationship. I don't believe that. I do believe if you're not completely healed as an individual, for everything that you know needs healing, you at least need to be in a healing process where there's self-awareness and there's boundaries that can protect the person that's with that unhealed aspect of you, whatever it may be. And see, a man who's done the work to heal should have the resources, should have the people, the therapist, the mentor, whatever it is that helped him, so that he's constantly audited for ways that his unhealed self or whatever may just be lying dormant that, now is surfacing because he's trying to get close to you, that he knows, okay, now that's becoming a problem. I got to do something about that. But if that man is not healed, 1, he's going to choose you from a place of that void. 2, he going to bleed all over you. And so the marriage-minded man will have it up here, what he's supposed to do. But if he's not healed, it's kind of like if you played a sport. You know all the technique. You know how to say basketball. You know how to shoot the basketball. You know how to dribble. You know how to pass, dunk. You know how to run plays. But if you are broken, if your ankle is messed up, your knee is blown out, you ain't getting out there and executing nothing. You're going to get out there and stink it up and cause the team to lose, right? The exact same thing goes with a man. He could be marriage-minded, truly, genuinely. I'm not talking about a narcissist or a bad guy. He can genuinely have it up here, what he wants, what he knows he should be able to have. But if that man has not done the work prior to healing, if he can name his childhood traumas or whatever he's been through in his last relationship, but he can't name the process that he's gone through to deal with those, he's not prepared. That is not a man prepared to get into a marriage. And by the way, I need to say this. When we talk about marriage, and I get flack for this, and this is why I create programs so I can go really in depth, but marriage is not the end all be all. It's not. A healthy marriage is. I believe anyway. That's my personal belief. A marriage is not the end all be all. A marriage is the beginning of a new chapter, but it's what you write in that chapter that creates the story. So when we're talking about marriage, I hope you guys are keeping in context something specific about this. Marriage can be a lifelong misery, or it can be happily ever after. It's not automatically either one. So when I'm talking about a man who's prepared for marriage, I'm really talking about a man who's prepared to contribute and secure and possibly even lead in a healthy marriage. Now, third way, let's get back to the topic. Third way that you know that man is prepared, he's not just marriage-minded, he's also prepared, is if he has extremely high standards, not only on himself, but on you as well. Now, this is going to turn some of y'all off, but the truth is, when that man is prepared for marriage, he knows what he's going to bring to it, and it ain't nothing small. He knows what he's going to invest into it, it ain't nothing small. He knows what power that marriage is going to have over his overall purpose. And that's going to correlate into the kind of standard you must meet in order for him to be with you. If you get a man, and honestly, ladies, y'all know when a dude letting you run all over him, talk to him any kind of way, you know, because you may look at some of the things that you said and done and say, oh, I could have handled that better. And then when you look at your man and he just let you do it, he ain't say nothing, that man ain't really prepared for marriage. Because marriage has a lot to do with growing together, evoking the best out of each other. And sometimes that's going to get uncomfortable. If that man is not willing to make you a bit uncomfortable with love and compassion as a means of getting you to your higher self, based on his standard that he has for the woman that's going to be in his life or what he's put on this earth to accomplish, that man ain't prepared for marriage. He may be prepared for a little companionship, you know what I'm saying? Pay a couple bills maybe, have a little sex, something like that. But what's going to happen is you guys are going to be stagnant. You're going to lose respect for him because you know the man that's for you is going to pull the best out of you. And that ain't always going to feel good. So a truly prepared man for marriage is going to have a very, very high standard for you. And he's not going to do this he's not going to impose this on you in some type of dictatorship type of way. He's going to lovingly nudge you towards the higher standards that he has while he keeps himself accountable to the exact same level of standard. Ain't going to be, you got to do all of this, that, and the other, but he don't do, you know what I'm saying, half of it. You're going to see it reflective. If he can't point to himself as a reference point for everything that he's asking of you in terms of the high standard, the height of the standard, because y'all not going to be synonymous in what you do, but the quality of how you show up should be right on par. If he can't point to himself and say, you see how I do, whether managing my emotions, whether the way that I talk, whether the way that I approach my day, the way that I want to learn, the way that I want to walk this spiritual walk, whatever it is that's important to y'all. If he can't point to himself, that man ain't got no high standard. Now he has a one-sided standard. Totally different story. Another way that you know that man is not just marriage-minded, but he's also prepared for marriage, is if he resorts to resolving the conflict between you two. Now, this is typically going to happen more in a relationship than in just the dating phase, because in the dating phase, I'm not a big believer in resolving conflict. Sounds crazy, I know. But the reason why is because in the dating phase, you let somebody do what they want to do so you can see what they'd rather do. You're really just collecting data. You're just allowing. And then once you make the decision that, okay, this is the person I could start putting some foundational pieces together with, now you want to go in and start resolving conflict. Now you want to go in and say, okay, I'm willing to work with you, have grace with you, have patience with you in order to make this thing work and gel together better. That's what the relationship is for, right? But if that man is only prepared for dating and he's in a relationship, he's gonna do exactly what he did in dating and run. Anytime that you show a flaw, anytime you make a mistake, anytime that he sees something he don't like, hears something he don't like from you, he's not going to want to resolve that conflict. He's either going to resort to shutting down or punishment. He's going to shut down where he doesn't want to talk about it. He just would whatever. And that may come from an unhealed place. It may come from a manipulative place trying to weaponize silent treatment. Or he's going to retaliate, which can include the silent treatment, or it can include passive aggressive behavior or criticism or anger. But a man who is ready to go the distance is going to resolve conflict. It's like if you have a car and you want to have that car for the rest of your life. You understand this. Sometimes it's going to need an oil change. It may have a tire go flat. It may anything. But what do? You say, I'm going to make sure I prepare to have the insurance come take care of the car, or I'm going to have a spare tire in the back. So anytime something arises, I can fix it and keep going. Fix it and keep going. Work on it, keep going. We're not going and just go getting a new car. We bought this thing. We want this thing until the wheels fall off. So when that man is truly marriage-minded, you'll notice he has a high premium on conflict resolution. Not threatening to leave every time, not actually leaving every time, not going ghost on you for days at a time whenever he gets upset, but it's going to be, hey, we need to talk about this. We got to deal with this. And not that he's going to hyper-focus on all these wrongs, but if a man truly wants you for the long term, he's going to want to fix things, patch things up. That's going to be his way of really showing with his actions that he has long-term intentions. No, I ain't letting this go. No, I'm not throwing this away. This is mine. This is mine. It's like your child or something, like, not to make you an equivalent of a child, but with your baby, what you do? They get off track. You never throwing them away. You don't give them up for adoption. They do something wrong, you got to discipline them. You got to teach them. You got to love on them. You got to listen to them. You're going to make that thing work because that's your baby. Ain't no getting another child. Well, unless you make another one or adopt or something like that. But you get what I'm saying. And one more way that and this may be the most important. One more way that man is prepared for marriage is if he has come to a place where he feels secure with where he's at in his pursuit of his purpose. So that doesn't mean he's completed it. That doesn't mean he's finished. That doesn't mean he's not still trying to accomplish goals and things like that. But when a man is insecure about where he's at according to his purpose, if he's even purpose driven, if he ain't purpose driven, he definitely ain't marriage minded. But if he's insecure about it, it's going to be impossible for him to put the marriage in its proper place on the priority list. Everything about a man who's truly in his masculine core is going to be driven towards, I have to exact my design. I have to realize this dream I got. I have to see through the reason why God put me on this earth. Nothing is going to come before that. And that includes your emotional needs being met. It's going to be very difficult for a man to integrate properly you being in his life in the way that you're supposed to be in his life, emotional needs being met, while he's insecure about where he's at financially, purpose-wise, career-wise. Now, when a man is secure about his situation, he may be in a place where, okay, I haven't completed everything I'm supposed to do, but I have a great idea of what I'm supposed to do next, where I'm at, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and now I know how a woman can safely come into this equation and help me maximize everything as we continue on together, as we build together. But when you get that man who's spiraling in his life, again, I always say this, he ain't looking for love, he's looking for help. He's looking for a lifeline. He ain't looking to be your partner. He's looking for you to be his saving grace. And then once you do that, what are you going to do? Go on to a next woman. You already know. If a man is in a situation where he's depressed or stressed, he's just not in a good place, that ain't for you to come and sort out. That ain't for you to come in and sort out. You with a man and things get rough, yes, you can apply yourself, but even you got to understand there's a right time and place for everything. There's a right time for you to step in and be that anchor, that backbone that he can fall back on when things ain't going right. And it's not in the beginning. That man has to come in feeling very secure, very clear about his purpose, where he's at, in order to now integrate you and be able to apply himself the way that he's supposed to. Now, some of y'all, you may be 20. If you're 21 listening to this ain't as important because a man who's 21, he ain't even came into himself yet. Y'all could possibly walk a certain season of life together that people 40 and up can't walk. But if you 40 and up, that man absolutely has to have accomplished certain things in his life, per his own standard, not yours necessarily. He has to have graduated to elevated to a part of his life where he feels good about any room that he walks in. Even if you're making more money than him, he knows what he's supposed to be doing. And if that man hasn't accomplished that, everything's gonna go. Matter of fact, have you ever been with a man who had money when you met him, and then when that money got funny, he turned into a completely different man? Ladies, now this is more so for my more mature crowd, because you probably gotta be 35 and up to even understand what I'm talking about right now. That man was likely in his masculine energy, his masculine core, and then when things got out of whack with his career, he lost it. Now, the thing that he wasn't rooted in something really solid in terms of his character. So that's where he had some room to grow. I don't want to get too far into that because, again, that's more grown folks conversation. You got to be a little bit more mature. But if you want more of that kind of conversation, click the link that you see pinned down in the comments. It's my best dating advice for women over 40. Again, the game is different for y'all. You know, to date a man who is equally yoked with you is completely different than if you were much younger, or link is in the caption as well. So if you're over 40 and you're dating, you want the best dating advice for the approach you're supposed to take for an evolved man on your level, click that link you see down in the comments. But back to what I was saying. Do not, and I say this humbly and encouragingly to all of you, do not look for a man who's marriage minded. Look for a man in which he can show you evidence of his preparedness for marriage. We don't successfully execute things that we intend to or that we know we should do. We successfully execute whenever we have prepared, when we've trained ourselves, when we've reserved ourselves, when we've applied ourselves over a length of time to now come in and you get to benefit from all of that momentum. If not, what you're going to do is you're going to suffer from the momentum of what he's prepared to do that ain't got nothing to do with no marriage. And then you're going to be in a space trying to help him create momentum that he may not even have the personal conviction to create to begin with. Choose wisely. But those are just my thoughts. I'm your internet big brother trying to look out, as usual, with some free game. You know, if you got something from this, I don't need your money, keep it. But what I do want you to do is hit that share button, pass it along, pay it forward. It takes a couple of seconds for free. And you don't know whose life you're going to change by just hitting that share button. And if you are over the age of 40 and you want my best dating advice for women over 40, I have more free content down there pertaining to that at the link down in the comments. Also in the caption whenever you back out. Holla at y'all later.